I think we're going to go. Hey! Welcome to SharePoint Dev Weekly, episode 10. See, I needed to have a look on what I was recording. Anyway.
Which of the 10 things am I doing now? Is it webcast, webinar? Is it short? Is it weekly?
Yeah, I don't know. Catching up on things. Oh, it's been a interesting day. Let's put it this way. So welcome everybody. This is the episode 10. Last time in episode 9, I was on vacation and we had Waldek and Chris taking care of the episode 9, right? I listened to the recording actually earlier today and good job, guys. So really good job. More jokes though. More jokes. No, just
This is not very funny.
Yes. So this time we have again 3 persons in the recording and we have a guest once again. Appy, will you do the intros? Who are you and what are you actually doing for a living?
Sure, my name is Appy, or Albert-Jan, but most people know me as Appy, so just stick with Appy. I'm CTO at Mavention, and on a daily basis I work with Office 365. I'm an MVP, do some dev stuff, and yeah, whatnot. Cool stuff.
Cool stuff. What does the Mavention actually do? What do you guys do? Development stuff?
Yeah, we're a Dutch consultancy firm, and we build some stuff. We've got some products that are either deploying stuff in Office 365 or leveraging stuff based on SPFX. And on a daily basis, we try to help our clients achieve more with Office 365 on a business productivity part of Office 365.
Makes sense. So, makes absolute sense.
Yeah, we go on.
That sounds good. And of course, I'm using SharePoint Framework. Who wouldn't, right? Why would you do anything else?
Well, there are some customers still in on-prem, so sometimes we still stuck with the old model, but well, most of the things we do in the Netherlands, at least, are Office 365. So I think if you look at Europe in general, we tend to do quite a few things in the cloud. So it's okay working in the Netherlands on Office 365.
Yeah. What's your take about, by the way, the SharePoint 2019 RTM is going to happen pretty soon. I know the date and time, but I can't disclose that. So what's your kind of a feeling on if you have on-premises customers, are they moving to 2019? Have you had a chance on looking at that one?
Well, good question. I think most of our customers are either running 2016 or are looking at 2019 already. I know a few customers who won't move to 2019 for, let's say, another 6 to 9 months, just to make sure that it is stable and everything is, crystallized, so to say. But, well, most of the Dutch customers are running on Office 365. And if they're running on premises, they're looking at a hybrid scenario. So they feel that moving to 2019 actually makes sense. And I'm not sure if they're going to move within the first month, but well, some of us tried the beta already, and it looks awesome. There are some improvements. So yeah, I think most of them will actually move.
Yeah, I think there's quite a significant movement because the modern experience is now in on-premises. So absolutely, huge jump forward on that one. So finally, we have a new UI since 2013, which is pretty important. So what about you, Waldek? Sorry.
Oh, well, you have a consistent UI. That's probably the most important part. If you run a hybrid scenario, you now will see pretty much the same things, which is a good thing.
Absolutely. Because then you train your employees once on this one UI, and that's it. So it makes perfect sense. What about you, Waldek? What have you been up to for the past week? How was the week without me? So stuff isn't burning, everything is fine.
Yeah, I mean, still, so nothing really broke. Everything still works as far as I can say. We had an episode out, so I got a first-hand experience, like what you go through, which is interesting and basically an interesting lesson learned. Other than that, I mean, it was a busy week. Last week I was in Belgium, in Brussels. There was the SPS, where I talked about accessing APIs secured with Azure AD. And on Thursday, so that event was a weekend, and on Thursday I had the great idea. You know what? Let me go once more over the demos. and a tenant that I used in the past expired. So I had to have new one.
Yeah.
And surprise, surprise, nothing works. So on Thursday afternoon, when I have like 10 other things planned to be done, and then on Friday I was supposed to travel, I don't have a tenant that I can use for a demo. And then what tripped me off is that the error that I got, so basically the error that I got was that the service principal was not consented by the admin to be used.
Yeah.
But it was, because it was enabled, it had permission, it had everything. What tripped me off eventually was the fact that when you don't grant the API permissions to the API you want to access, you will get that error. So the error you get doesn't necessarily reflect what is wrong. And if you don't know it, you'll waste half a day or a day trying to debug everything and anything, except for the fact, and it was intentional on my part, because I wanted to go step by step and give like, what are the different errors that you will get on every stage. And then I just did the first thing, and I get an error for a thing that was good. But yeah, then that is the diff. So the lesson learned there is that don't always try or don't always trust the error that you get, and get things to work the way I'm supposed to, and don't try to experiment and be too wise.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mean that Microsoft exception handling could be improved?
You could provide us with clear, and and that was also what tripped me, right? Because I work with the feature also in preview, and back then you actually got the correct error. So the error you got told you exactly what is wrong. But then with the switch from the first party principal to third, apparently the error changed, which I wasn't aware of. Yeah. And just the thing that didn't occur to me, like on the last day, preparing the last hour, just didn't. It was just too late to think about that. So, but yeah, eventually all went well. And the cool thing was that I had really cool lesson learned to share with the audience.
Yep, absolutely.
And other than that, I was experimenting with SPFX dynamic data with some new things. So there'll be more stuff coming, which is cool. And we released a new version of the Office 365 CLI with support for, among others, creating channels in Microsoft Teams. So if you want to provision a full experience, full intranet, you can now also create teams with CLI, and these teams can also have already pre-created channels.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one of the things what we are getting documented pretty soon is that the API for creating a teams for a SharePoint site. So you will have then the association. So then you can groupify and teamify your SharePoint sites, right? So it's a full modernization of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And then
you can happify that, right?
Yeah.
So the other day, when we're in Belgium, we talked about doing a session like master authentic conversations on blockchain, or about digital workplace on blockchain powered by Microsoft 365. Which would be like 10 MVP conversation about Hubify, Teamify, Groupify, blockchain, like all the buzzwords. And we would basically talk about nothing for an hour.
Yeah.
We're going to submit that to some event somewhere. We just need to plan where.
But it's gonna sound impressive, right? Because we're using a terminology which is cool.
Yeah, it's like we will hit 11 out of 10 on the buzzword bingo.
Exactly. Okay, anyway, so let's actually jump on this week's topic. So nothing new, obviously, on my side, because I was cruising on the Western Mediterranean, which is pretty nice, actually. Especially when you're traveling with a 6-year-old boy who doesn't really care about sightseeing or anything. So it's dropping by in a shore and then getting back to the boat.
There isn't really that much to be seen except the boat. So basically, for a long period of time, you're on a really big boat.
Sure, that is true.
That is it.
That's pretty much it. And then we visited, 4 different Disney stores in the different stores. So that was kind of the excuse to go to the shore. No, let's go and try to find the glove of who's the guy? The come on. In the newest Avengers, the guy with the glove. Thanos Club.
Yep.
So yes, that was the thing what we were hunting down in every single Disney store what we tracked down. So because the boy wants to have the club of the Thanos. So and we know that has been at some point available. So we were kind of that was our excuse of getting him work with us. So,
Treasure hunt.
Oh right,
exactly.
yeah. Because I feel like couldn't you just order that on Amazon or internet
Of course.
However, yeah.
Yes, you need to have a good excuse for he could give motivations for a 6-year-old to
walk
around. So
let's find the glove of Thanos.
Exactly. Anyway, so let's actually jump on the articles and stuff what has been shared. So now, before we actually started this recording, we were just chatting that not that much was happening in the SharePoint Dev during last week. That's mainly because a lot of people clearly were actually preparing their sessions on the SharePoint Saturdays and all of that. So it's kind of understandable. But there was some new things. So let's actually jump through them. So one of the things what we've gone through in some of the sessions already right after Ignite was the SB design. I share websites.net. What was the AKMS for this one? AKMS SB design guidance. Okay, there we go. So this one probably is easier to remember. Now, this one will redirect you to a page which potentially might be relocated in the SharePoint Dev portal at some point, but due logistics reasons, it's not there yet. Explaining what is the modern SharePoint and design guidance on that one, and then linking through the documentation and all of that. What's new here is the Ignite 2018 lookbook. And this is actually really cool. So the lookbook itself, so let me actually open up that one, contains then screenshots and designs which we used in our tenants in the Ignite. So basically, what was the setup in Ignite? How were the UIs designed? How does the traditional social low density, high visual impact designs could look like for some of the customers? So there's a lot of kind of a awesome innovation from a design perspective in this, right?
In a way, giving you inspiration and ideas for what you can build and how it could look like to basically, create a place to collaborate, right?
Absolutely. And now some of these portals, so this one, for example, in here is the Contoso landing. So events, news, you can see that there's out-of-the-box web parts. There's some custom web parts. This is already using the new section, let's say section coloring capability. I don't know what's the official term for that, but you can basically color things. This is clearly quick links web part, but it's being then colored as a gray. The section is colored as gray, which is one of the new upcoming capabilities. And there's the stock custom web part as well, and all of that. But really nice set of images demonstrating what's possible in the modern SharePoint.
Yeah, we used it at the Dutch Information Worker user group. We had our Ignite recap last week, and we used these images to show what would be possible with what's coming and what's announced. And it really had some traction there. Everyone was amazed by what you can achieve with out of the box. So that was really cool.
Yep, absolutely. So really cool stuff. And now we're looking even making this easier in the future. Potentially this as well, work in progress still. Potentially even have a ready-to-use Pnp provisioning templates to get all of this provisioned to your tenant. So that would be really cool. Work in progress. I need to clarify a few things here and there before we can actually release that service, which will be then providing some of this capabilities. So really cool stuff.
So if that came, basically what we would be at, if I understand correctly, is that you would be able to create the site, replace the content with your own, and you would be ready to go to have intranet, basically this.
Well, in certain level, yes. So the basic idea of that provisioning would be to demonstrate SharePoint Starter Kit. So first of all, the SharePoint Starter Kit itself. Let me actually go there as well. SharePoint Starter Kit. Let me actually go here. It should be number 1. Yes, it is. So there is a new version available after Ignite, so 1.3 version. And this one is provisioning everything with using a one single PowerShell commandlet, which is pretty cool. As long as you follow up on the pre-requirements on your tenant, the only thing what you need to do, if I go to the provisioning page, you basically execute add Pnp Provisioning hierarchy, and then the Pnp file, which contains site collection, site designs, everything else. that's it. And then it takes a while, everything is ready to go. But basic idea of all of this is that we demonstrate what's possible to do in a SharePoint Online to help partners and customers then to realize the potential, what's available. And sure, Starter Kit is a good example of a Starter Kit. So you could actually start by that and modifying things, or how do you, well, there's multiple options to utilize this in the projects as well. And everything is open source, so of course. Related on this one, actually, Abby, you're representing a ISV or system integrator, let's put it this way. What's your kind of a thinking on the value of Starter Kit as an example?
So we use Starter Kit pretty much in all our demos to clients. What we usually do is we spin up an installation, replace the colors and add a logo of the client just to show, hey, this is available out of the box. It takes us roughly an hour or so to just run it and upload a logo. And it really makes it easy to show what is doable out of the box instead of just showing a blank communication site or a blank team site. So yeah, it really helps us. There are a few things that could be, added to make it even more of an intranet solution. But hey,
like what?
Well, most of the
putting you on the spot. I know.
Most questions that we get is like, hey, there isn't a birthday web part or something like an anniversary web part. We've got something for that. But those are typical things that you probably get questions on. But we usually start with, hey, this is like the first page. It explains some of the basic concepts of modern, and it looks cool rather than if you have an out-of-the-box communication site, that does look cool as well, though it's it's only images. This is like a full body content with content-driven intranet. So
sure, absolutely. And now, obviously, when we get sorted out all of this, this is good for innovation perspective. But then at certain level, if we can provision this kind of structures automatically to the tenant from a pre-sales perspective as well for you guys to help you to do the pre-sales, I think that would add significantly value as well, because the content has a significant impact. So content doesn't have an impact for developers, because we as a developers, we can see it like, well, that's a custom web part, I can easily do that. But when you're explaining the value of SharePoint Online for a business decision maker who actually got the money, typically, the actual example content has a humongous value. So
it's really funny to see that from a development point of view. You say, okay, if we can retrieve one event, it will work for 10 as well. But from a client point of view, if you show 10 events, it's like, wow, this is completely different. So it really adds value having some demo content in there.
True, absolutely. Cool. Anyway, so this is available from the AKMS SB Design Guidance side. If you scroll down here, where was it? There it is. Download the Ignite 2018 lookbook. We'll add links, obviously, on all of this in the video notes. Now, something else which was released last week as well, and I know Bert had a session in SharePoint Saturday Brussels, didn't he? Around this topic as well. So Bert Janssen is heading the transformation tooling in the Pnp side, and one of his big babies. Well, it is a big from a functionality perspective, and a beautiful baby, is the Modernization Scanner, which is basically giving insights on how can I modernize my existing sites versus moving them from a classic experience to the modern experiences. So really, really cool stuff. This one, if we click the AKMS SB Pnp Modernize, we'll add the links obviously in the video notes. You can actually see the open source tooling available. So this tool basically gives a nice set of dashboards and everything else in Excels, what kind of sites you have, which of them you can transform, which don't, and also there's a additional transformation tooling available, which could actually do in-place replacement if there's a replacement for a classic web part in the modern experiences. Or you could do a mapping of, hey, even though there isn't a replacement, we could actually have a custom replacement. So if there's a out-of-the-box, what would be a really funky web part? BDC web part? I don't know.
What?
Then BDC? BCS, right?
What?
Well, you might have a BCS web part in your site, right?
Yeah, sure.
It is an out-of-the-box web part.
Yeah.
Not in modern. So you would actually replace that with the custom functionality.
Yeah, but I mean, so even for that, you could probably one that you would see more commonly in classic would be something like content query, content search.
Sure. Or script editor web part in classic, and you want to replace that with a railed custom third-party experience with a custom web part. So you would then transform the script editor web part to something else in the modern side. Absolutely. So really cool stuff. If you're a partner customer looking into modernization, this is a great tool to get insights on your tenant and what can be modernized. And the latest version is out from last week. Is it last week? That's last week, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
It's
cool.
Exactly last week.
It is, absolutely. Now, other topics. Paulo is doing his Piazo's Tech Bites. These are really good. This is, again, 6 minutes Tech Bite around the Pnp provisioning engine and the tenant level provisioning in the Pnp provisioning engine. Paulo, you need to smile.
Yes, he's so focused.
Yeah, that's fine. But basically what the Pnp provisioning engine, if somebody's wondering, but we have site designs and site scripts, which is true, they're evolving as well. The Pnp provisioning engine is now heading to the tenant level. So pretty soon you can provision your teams, SharePoint sites, groups, solutions to the app catalog, and site design, site script using a Pnp provisioning engine. Technically, a lot of the stuff is already available since October 2018 release. So really cool stuff. Actually, even the SharePoint Starter Kit, like I showed here, if you go to the provisioning, you can see a Starter Kit PnP. This one apply Pnp provisioning hierarchy path Starter Kit is actually using the tenant level configurations. So really cool stuff because it's a one file which actually even contains your SPFX solution file inside of it. So you can then share that to somebody and say apply, and poof, magically everything is working. So
cool.
Cool. So have a look on that one. Now, other topics. Marcus Miller, SharePoint blog. How do I get rid of that? Come on.
Can you just pull? There is a white stripe there. There you go.
Refresh.
Yeah.
So Marcus Miller had a nice setting on the app settings in the SharePoint framework and staging. So basically, how would you implement the functionality? Let me scroll slightly down. What's showing this? How would you have a configuration dependent on which environment you are planning to host your SPFX solution? So how would we dynamically then replace this URL and the function app ID based on the environment where we are? So what is this? Continuous integration, continuous deployment, and all of that stuff. You definitely need this one. So really cool. Cool stuff. And nice set of details. So it's a gulp task, right?
Correct.
Saying this one. Yes. Which is basically then updating that based on the environment where we are. So cool stuff. Moving on things, and then Chayo.
How?
Okay. We
I
had a cute blog
Sorry.
post again on the SharePoint framework experiences and how to build highlighted events on the modern SharePoint with images. And basically quite a typical scenario. Sure, we have an out-of-the-box events capability, which is, however, slightly limited because you can't really modify the rendering side of the game. And this one is so Haya is working on Pine tuning, and they're basically demonstrating one of their web parts and how it works, built using SharePoint framework. Really cool web part because then it renders the upcoming events in a nice way in your portal. So, and a lot of different settings, obviously, they're available. So, and sure, there's plenty of other ISV providers and system integrators which have a similar set of web parts. It's just nice to see a visual demo on what people are actually having and how they can then, how would you use their solution in your own or customer's deployment to get something available. So, really cool. Cool. Anything else what we want to talk about? We didn't actually have any additional links than this, right?
Yeah, I think that everybody wanted to go to events and prepare for that. So we didn't really see that new stuff shared.
True. And we didn't get Irvin for this week either, so sorry, Appy, we're hunting down Irvin.
Yeah.
At someday, maybe next year. So he's a busy man. He's a really busy man. But any last words? Any last thoughts? Is this week is gonna be as busy as last week? Are we gonna get more action articles?
Good question.
Are you guys heading for SharePoint Saturday on next Saturday?
No SharePoint. No more SharePoint Saturdays for me. Next thing is going to be the Dev Bootcamp we have in the Netherlands, where Waldek and I will do SharePoint Framework, which is cool.
Yep.
Then it's going to be Dev Bootcamp in Belgium for me, where I'm going to do Teams, which is cool as well. And that's pretty much the next 4 weeks, I think. So
yeah, and then probably the event in Harlem, Connections.
SharePoint
Connections is coming. Yep.
Yeah, Connect.
I'll be there as well.
Cool.
And then there's Thrive conference in Slovenia, ESPC. So there's a lot of conferences also happening. Christmas. Yes. Thanksgiving in US is starting pretty soon. So in a month. So
yeah.
So it is what it is. So it's busy
days,
times.
right? Yeah.
Busy days. But last time actually let's not close yet because let's put Appy on the spot. So Waldek, for Chris, you asked us the one question last week as well. You want to ask the same question from Appy as well?
Yeah, sure. So what is your favorite feature or favorite announcement from the Ignite event?
Wow, good question.
You can pick only one. And we're putting you on the spot. We know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did debug last week where I did a recap of all the Ignite announcements for the Dutch SharePoint community.
Yeah.
And I ended up sifting through roughly 400 slide decks because apparently there were 400 sessions on Microsoft 365 or the mention of SharePoint. A grand total of 700 hours of content that you should check out. So
now that you know all of that,
exactly. What was the one thing?
Which one do you like the most?
Or big three, out of your top of your head.
Okay, so post Ignite, I really love the logbook because that's gonna make it easier to show what's coming. From a modern perspective, I like the announcements they did around news. So there's coming quite a few things before the end of the year, making news more enterprise ready, so to say. Yeah. So from that perspective, I would say that's probably the biggest announcement that I'm happy with. SharePoint Framework 1.7, dynamic data, really going to be awesome. SharePoint Framework in Teams is going to be interesting. So I would say that are the three. And there are a gazillion other things that were really cool. Functional-wise, I would say news. Technical-wise, I would say dynamic data or Teams in tabs, which is or SPFX in tabs, which is, I would say, hands-on for me.
Yeah, so absolutely. Yeah, 1.7 is coming relatively soon. We are closing on the documentation, and so there's still a few articles to get written and making sure that we have the tutorials and everything else and the videos available for those. So, but it's coming quite soon, so people can finally start using SharePoint web parts in Microsoft Teams tabs, and that's obviously internally we've aligned with the Teams people. It's going to be an interesting announcement whenever we get this one out. So first in preview and then in GA slightly later, but still one step at a time.
So I think the next thing in CLI is probably going to be adding tabs to Teams as well. So we can then add our own SharePoint Framework tabs in your team.
Perhaps.
Yes.
We accept PRs.
We welcome pull requests.
I know. Be looking for it.
Yes, cool. I think that's time for closing up on the things. Thank you, Abby, for dropping by. For a good chat. Thank you, Waldek, for keeping up the fort when I was on vacation.
Of course,
we'll come up with a new webcast in a
next
1 week.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.